my song. Let's sing it. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Come on, it's gonna be fucking awesome. You know the words. It's gonna be fucking awesome. That's it, see. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Yeah!
Hey, everybody. It's me, Jesse Blaze Snider, the coolest geek alive. Welcome to the show. It is not Wednesday because I was a bit jet lagged. I was going to do the show yesterday, and I literally took a nap in the middle of the day and slept well into the evening and just caught up on some sleep. I've been beat. I was kind of fighting some sort of sickness or something for a little while, and just really low level. But I think I may be over it. Feeling better. Anyway, hope you're doing good. Care bear steer. Thanks for listening to the show. So, for the past 2 days, I have been at Toy Fair, and I am a big toy guy. I know I've talked about toys a little bit before, but I guess I'll kind of brush you guys up on my toy history or whatever. Since I was a little kid, I'm 42 now, but I was born in 82, and Masters of the Universe, I was a big Masters of the Universe guy. I love He-Man. He-Man's kind of my least favorite in the whole thing, as most He-Man fans are, but the Masters of the Universe and that world, and awesome. Yes, love that. So I've always been a toy guy, and then I got into kind of comics peripherally a little bit through toys, and also Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles I really liked. But got into, my dad was into superheroes and DC Comics and Marvel Comics, so he kind of turned me on to that stuff, even though I wasn't a big reader. I was just kind of flipping through the pages. I didn't become a big comic book reader until it was 16 or something. When I really dug into it, I was reading Savage Dragon for the longest time by itself, but then eventually I became a really big comic book guy. But my toy love never went away. I was always a big toy dude. I was into toys. I love sculpture, and I really was impressed by some of the sculpture that was coming out at the time. People like my friend Digger Mesch, who took me to Toy Fair, were doing some incredible things with action figures and making some toys that were just next level cool. There's two toys in particular I'll talk about real quick, just about Digger, just to brag about him for a second. He's in the other room. But there was this Spider-Man that they made. He was excellent. He didn't have a lot. It was before all of the crazy articulation. And he didn't even have any elbow articulation, but his arms were just sculpted in this perfect way where they just really seemed to be moving just a little bit, and his one arm was a little bit more bent than the other one, and similarly his torso was just kind of twerked in a certain way, so when you moved his legs, it always seemed like he was doing something. And some of these toys tended to look really stiff when you moved them, and it was really some magic that was in this toy. So much so that as the toys upgraded and there was all these toys with all these better articulation, this Spider-Man that I had was still one of my favorites. There was a Apocalypse, and I didn't know that these were all sculpted by Digger. I became a fan of his through many other things later on, but I was getting the benefit of people like him. People also like the Four Horsemen, who weren't really involved in the earliest of the. Well, some of them were one of their dudes who just Jim, who just retired from Horseman Studios. He built the Spawn Mobile, and he loved cars, and that was one of his early tasks over there. But Eric Treadaway, he came along a little bit later, and some of the most iconic and beautiful toys that were made by McFarlane Toys at the time, like the Total Chaos line, which is all their designs, just crazy things that they were making. They're amazing. Eric Treadaway in particular, Corn Boy's great too, though. But Treadaway really deserves his respect. The volume of work this man does, and the level of work. He's really Treadaway is probably my tops in the world. Digger is. He's so multifaceted, so he loves to bounce around from thing to thing, but he also is just a huge contributor of that time to some great stuff that was made by Toy Biz, and then later on amazing things that he made with his own company. Like Digger's responsible for that awesome Space Ghost figure with the table in front of you, and it was Space Ghost Coast to Coast, but it was a great toy. Anybody who got this original Space Coast to Coast toy, it was just I didn't really even like Space Ghost that much. But Digger, apparently, he was a real fan of that cartoon when he was a kid growing up. So he like really put some love into being able to play with it like an action figure. And what a great toy that was. He had a great rubber cape. And I'm talking about Toy Fair on my show. Don't make too much noise. This is Digger. He's very loud sometimes. But this is why we love him. Oh, I love you too. When he's like walks into a room, it's like boom, push a boom, push a boom, push a boom. But he's the best. I love him. He and I are like brothers. So we've only known each other really deeply for like a year, but we really became close very quickly. We're similar kind of people. Anyway, bragging about him some more. That Space Ghost figure was next level. And it came with like a little mug, a little coffee mug. There's a couple little accessories that came with it. I forget some of the other ones, but they were all great. And he had a great rubber cape. And his head moved from the chest, and it allowed really great head movement for the whole thing. And it didn't make him look bad. It was great. It's a great toy, man. And he's responsible for a lot of those. His company, Art Asylum, is like, they really, if you look up Art Asylum and a lot of music toys that they made, Jack in the Boxes and of Kiss and Alice Cooper and Rob Zombie and things like that. I was very upset to learn, actually, that he's been trying to do Twisted Sister things for a very long time and has a real hard time going through the licensor, which is JJ, the guitar player for Twisted. JJ, I got a bone to pick with you, man. My brother, he would have done some good shit for you. Like, seriously. Oh, rough. But like Digger even did like Eminem. You know, he's had so many licenses with so many musicians stuff. He loves music. So that's always been a big part of his artistry. But anyway, keeping on to just like a little bit of my story. I'm a huge toy guy. I've been appreciating it very deeply on a deep level. Got turned on to Digger, I guess, more when I was a teenager. He was very good at marketing himself and marketing his company, and I loved everything that his company was about. He was crediting a lot of the sculptors on, not a lot of them, all of them, anything that they put out, they all had their name on it. You know, this was worked on, this was done by this person and this person, which I thought was great, and just really just thinking about the business of this stuff the way that I was, through like community, and also through respecting the artists and the craftsmen, and also through bold ideas and innovation, and you know, and being cool and rock and roll. And Digger's the coolest, man. He really is. I'll have to tell him to listen to this. I'm sure he'll appreciate everything I had to say. So I, worked in comics and voiceovers and hosting and, a lot of TV stuff and music, obviously. But didn't really do a lot with toys, though I was super always paying attention. I had a 6-inch scale city that burnt to the ground like probably 5-6 years ago now. I probably had the largest collection of 6-inch scale characters from every genre, film and TV and comics and just everything. Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers and Marvel and DC and Aliens. And like, with Aliens, I had a couple dozen. So I could have dozens of aliens swarming people. And I had, anything, Horde Troopers from He-Man. I had, a couple dozen. And I had a giant Godzilla and a giant not Mr. Potato Head, a giant Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. So I had this big city. And it was just sort of like an arts and crafts project for me. I would make garbage and I would just reconfigure the city in different ways. And it was just a backdrop for me to set up these sculptures. And I would kind of set up my sculptures in different ways. Sometimes they were fighting, or sometimes I just set them up together. And, I'd come up with these little stories in my head or think about things, especially because I was professionally writing a lot of these things. So sometimes I'd be pitching things and I'd use characters to fill in for other characters, or I'd actually have some of the characters. Like, I remember when I wrote the Hulk, I didn't have the Wrecking Crew, but I had a Hulk action figure, and I was imagining, what do I do? I'm going to beat the shit out of this guy. So the Hulk grabs him and he throws him like that. I'm literally acting it out. But I didn't work in toys. So my best buddy, Aaron Sparrow, who I met working in comics, and I wrote Toy Story for him when he was the editor at Boom Kids. And Aaron handled all that stuff. Aaron's awesome. And me and him, our relationship has gone on long after that, and he still works with me to this day. I talk about him all the time, so if you listen to the show, you'll hear me say Aaron Sparrow's name constantly. He's great, too. I love my friends. I got some really good friends. I really do. Aaron got me on Toy Story, and, me and Aaron kind of bonded over toys. And then really bonded over toys later when we realized that like we were both like super toy guys. To this day, like since my fire, I have a lot of toys, but I only, compared to most people, I have a lot of toys, but not compared to what I used to have. 90% of all the toys that I have, Aaron Sparrow has given me. Like every time I see him, he's just like, look what I got my hands on for you. He knows that I'm not like, I haven't been buying a lot of things for myself, and money's been a little tighter with having 2 families and traveling around a lot, and he just keeps surprising me with toys. So this is like I said, I have a lot of great friends. So Aaron, Aaron and I, at various times we just started going like, we should make toys, whatever level. We should make some toys. And Aaron has a little business with his friend, Jesse Tofu, another Jesse, that they do. It's called Big Head Studios. You can find it online or whatever, or social media or something, if you look for it. And they make custom heads for any number of toys that might be able to pop their heads on and off, and they'll make custom ones. Sometimes they'll paint them. Aaron is a great painter. He paints the toys by hand. He's made some great customs for me. Again, great friend. But they make some awesome ones. And now with like the 3D printers and stuff, they make so many. Like if you go down to a show where they're exhibiting, you'll see like all these amazing heads that you could switch out for some of the toys that you have right now. Some of them, like I said, you might need to paint them yourselves, but awesome stuff. So in making those things and whatnot, we've gotten grander and grander. And somewhere along the way also, we got in touch with the Four Horsemen. And we love Four Horsemen Studios, and they were doing Mythic Legion. So my company produced their comic book, and they did an exchange. They did color designs for me, which were worth their weight in gold, I'm sure. But of course, I haven't really been able to capitalize on as much as I'd like with King of Kings, because only we've got the first issue out so far. We'll eventually get all that out. But we did their book at the time. We lost a lot of money on it because there wasn't like a lot of orders and stuff. But it came up pretty great. And at the same time, we were working with them on some ninjas, because ninjas, you don't have to get a license to make ninjas. And we're going to make these really dope ninjas. And Four Horsemen actually started designing them for us. I have in my folders in my computer somewhere the designs that Four Horsemen did for our baseline, ninjas. And they would have been glorious. But around the same time, there was another company that was doing ninjas. So we decided, all right, fuck it. It's already being done, and we were going to move on to other things. And then I got wrapped up in life and divorce and just so many different things, and getting held up with my comics and a couple of the big jobs that I had that I was using to fund the books, like to completion. Like I wasn't able to finish them. So everything got all like wrapped up. But we were starting to get kind of into some toy places, and also through the Designer Toy Awards. I was the host of the Designer Toy Awards for 3 years. I didn't really know that much about designer toys, but I had a little bit of a familiarity with them, and there was a lot of things that I liked. And they brought me in, and I was the host, giving out the different awards presented by Clutter Magazine, and that helped me get even more into like indie toys and indie toy making, and kind of how easy it was to make some of this cool stuff, which is especially cool for indie bands. And like I'm a musician, so I've been like really like into the idea of being able to make merch for people. So this past year, me and Digger, hooked up big time and just like fell in love with each other and went. You wanted me to let you out, baby? I'll let you out. 1 second, I'm letting the dog out. These dogs are the sweetest, but like, you leave them alone and they destroy everything. Probably gonna have to come here and house sit the dogs so they don't destroy everything while Digger's wants to go see his son graduate, which I understand. Anyway, what was I talking about? So we're talking about Mr. Digger. Me and him became really good friends, and yeah, basically I invited him to join into my company, Blacklight District Studios, and because I wanted to do all this merch stuff, and I'd love for him to like head up those things. And then at the same time, as we were talking, I'm like, at the same time, I'd love to like help you kind of rebuild your company, and we could just do a lot of things in tandem. And he might have had ideas about doing that one way or another anyway. And he and I have been working together in a lot of ways. So we're like super in cahoots. And there's a lot of interesting things going on in the world. I don't know what is going to happen with this Diamond Comics Distributors bankruptcy, obviously. But somebody is going to buy the company or buy pieces of it or whatever else. And it puts a property that a Digger produced, Minimates, into some questions, which is interesting because he hasn't been in control of that. That's not his company anymore. But there's a lot of things at play for what he and I are going to do, both with complementary things to my company on like a smaller scale, I would say, compared to some things that he'd like to do because there's lots of licenses and big sort of things that could be done. So I went there looking at a lot of things, looking for innovative things and features and inventions, things that could be utilized for toys or merch in different ways. And then at the same time, I also went there looking as like somebody who might potentially license some stuff. Whether it be Star Wars or let's say Digger got the license back, for Minimates. Would we want to do some more Star Wars? I mean, would we want to do some more Marvel? I don't know. Let me look. So I went around and I looked. I mean, the first thing, though, that I'm going to tell you, which is disappointing about the whole Toy Fair affair, is that when you go in there, it's kind of all of these little fiefdoms, and you're kept out unless you know somebody. And people are running around all the time and all over the place. So even if you do know somebody, case in point, we knew somebody at Hasbro who we both know, Jesse Falcon, who's fucking awesome. He ran Toy Biz. He's a really cool dude. He was like an early, I kind of look up to you guy for me when I was just coming into the business, and I met him when I was younger. And he's a very sweet guy. Was very sweet to me. He wasn't at the Hasbro booth when we were over there. So there's nobody to bring us into the Hasbro booth. And I kind of politely got one of the guys aside and I was like, are there any Marvel Legends back there? Marvel Legends are the 6-inch scale action figures that they make for the Marvel license of the Marvel toys. And he said, I don't actually think we have any Marvel Legends. And I said, okay, great. I don't have to sneak back there and see them. So a lot of the big companies are kind of, it's not Fort Knox or whatever. It's a little paper wall between you and these places, but it's like by appointment only, come into these things. So some of the things I saw with everybody else along the way. During the weekend, there was people posting pictures and stuff, and I actually saw, I think, more product in some cases for like the big companies. Or definitely, I saw in all cases for the big companies, I saw more product in pictures like beforehand, unless I went into the shop and saw some of the things. Like I got to go into Funko, which was super fun. They just did a Funko Pop for my dad a little while ago, and my kids have become super into Funko Pop because my dad basically gifted them a ton of Funko Pops, and it was gifts from Grandpa, and it was a nice easy way for them to get into it. And they all had like a little collection, and they used to trade them amongst themselves. There's 4 kids, so 4 kids all with different Funko Pops of different characters that they'd like, and they were buying those things for each other as presents and whatnot. And my daughter's actually gotten into their little itty bitty Funko Pops recently, and they gave me a couple free samples for them, which was great. So I got to hear about the plans they have for Funko Pop and the itty bitties. They're making these little towns and like buildings and cars, and it's very cute. I think my daughter will love them actually, and scale wise, because it's so small, there's just this room to make a little something. The city, I had a city, and this is just a tiny little itty bitty city with these Funko Pops, guys. So I think it'll probably be very successful for them. I'm root them on because it's quite adorable. And they also have, I guess, the company that owns Funko bought Mondo, and Mondo is doing some of the coolest Masters of the Universe stuff that has ever been done. I think they're like 12-inch scale toys, and the ones, and they've got Battle Cat. I mean, the most beautiful paint applications. Tons of articulation, but not affecting the sculpt. Amazing head sculpts. Amazing, beautiful like detail on every piece of equipment, alternate heads, like meaningful alternate heads. And they've done a ton, in the He-Man line, there's so much that was built to do based on kind of cost effective. Slowly the line sort of scaled out as each new toy would be made. There'd be a couple new pieces that would maybe get made, maybe 3, a new head and 2 new arms, but they'd be largely using the same pieces over and over again to create them. So in keeping with that, they keep smartly, just making the nice next big thing, but not having to spend a crazy amount of money. They made their initial, sorry, that's my baby. My baby, hi honey, I'm doing my podcast. Can I call you back when I'm done?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I love you so much. Okay. So these toys, these Mondo toys, they're amazing. And the high-end, Masters Universe collector like me, people who really love toys, we're willing to pay some money for some real beautiful, awesome rendition of these toys. The Masters Universe are colorful and fantastical, whether it's the simplicity of hyper-muscled He-Man or hyper-armored Man-at-Arms, to the super interesting things like Beastman and Stinkor and Webstor and all these animal-like mutant-type creatures. It really is just this great line of eye candy, beautiful eye candy for any geek culture person out there who's fucking excited about fantasy and science fiction. And Masters of the Universe ties all that shit together. So the Mondo stuff was incredible, right? Isn't that Mondo shit beautiful?
Crisis?
That Battle Cat? No, that Mondo Battle Cat and that He-Man.
Oh yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, they're really you have to see them. They are beautiful though. And the pictures, there's some amazing pictures out there. Go get the picture of him on Battle Cat or or Skeletor on Panther, Evil Lyn. They've been doing all of them, and like I said, really, really awesome stuff. So that was cool. Like I said, a lot of the place was kind of walled up like Fort Knox, but there was tons of really neat kind of innovative things. But it was just kind of, honestly, my assessment of the whole thing was just how it was divided up into so many little pieces. The licenses, holy crap. What it used to be that let's say one major toy producer had the license for Marvel, and they were making Marvel action figures and whatever other things they were making. Now, a license like, say, Marvel or DC, it gets cut up, easily 1,000 ways. We're making 6-inch scale figures. We're making 8-inch scale prestige format figures with less articulation and doesn't completely compete with your thing. Okay, we're making fly guys. We're making Migos that are in 8-inch and they have fabric, so that doesn't exactly compete with your license for action figures. And then we're remaking the action figures that were made when you were 5, and all of them, all of them, everything that I bought when I was a kid, we're remaking all of those, and we're all of the packaging, and then there's a scooter, and there's a bicycle, and there's a skateboard, and then here's the DC ones, and here's the Marvel ones, and here's the other licenses that make sense. And then, it's a lot of people running through all the same doors and offering a lot of the same material just in slightly different ways, which is really a thing for something like action figures and kids. Just because there's so many little features on this toy or that toy, or it's very kind of distracting almost. I feel like the next thing is somebody who's going to turn it into an iPhone. It's there's got to be a mix of a lot of these features into one thing. And these licenses, I don't know how much they're worth anymore. There was a time when these licenses were really worth something, and some of these things I think would have been way more successful. Star Wars and Marvel and all this stuff, I really feel like they've cannibalized their most loyal fans, And the merchandise sales, I mean, they've just been tanking and tanking and tanking over the past bunch of years. And anybody who's a toy guy like me can tell you, like, I'm sorry, you know what the most successful Star Wars action figure in the past fucking 10 years has been? Cara Dune, after she got canceled. It's like, what does that tell you guys? Your audience is going, like, the one time they could buy something to spite you. It's like hard to find, worth a lot of money. I mean, there's a lot of reasons for it, but I mean, it really is upsetting. This, you would think that, like, they changed it enough that since it failed, the stink of its failure is on. Like, people kind of don't want those. What do you call it? Those stormtroopers, like their little adjustments. It's like almost like if they looked more like the originals, they would have been still selling. But it's like now, and those guys are worth less and they're easier to find. And some people go, all right, fuck it, and they'll take those ones because they're cheaper toys, like people who like toys. But it's really a terrible market. The Marvel Legends, which used to produce waves that would have Build-A-Figures, essentially they flew too close to the sun in like 3 waves in a row or something. They had a movie tie-in. Wakanda Forever, I think, was maybe the last one. Eternals was perhaps the first one. Somewhere in the middle, Ant-Man, maybe. And these lines did very poorly. Oh, Shang-Chi is one of them. There was a few of them. And all of these Build-A-Figure waves they didn't do good. It didn't really matter. I mean, well, in one case, your Build-A-Figure was a character from the movie. And some of the other ones, they tried to be a little bit like smarter about some of these like the Ant-Man wave was a little smarter, but still, like, most of this stuff ended up in stores in the Midwest, Ollie's and places like that, where they discount these toys and they sell them for nothing. And most of them are still there. There's a great channel on YouTube called World Class Bullshitters. They go to Ollie's and they will film. Let's see how they done. Have they been able to move any of this stuff? Let's see. Are the prices getting marked down further? The answer is yes, they are. The merchandising market for this stuff is really the canary in the coal mine. And people like me have seen where all of this stuff was going 10 years ago. Where it's gone now is a audience that is just abused across the board, think about every franchise. Star Trek, the Kurtzman Trek, as they like to call it, and I haven't watched most of it because the fucking Star Trek Discovery broke my heart, the fucking pilot episode, reintroducing Star Trek Black Ops into the world, and the whole feel of it, everything about it was just wrong. And I didn't want to dishonor Gene Roddenberry's memory, and I've been gone as a fan for Star Trek ever since. And most people like me have been. Doomcock on YouTube literally started his channel because of how viscerally he hated the Star Trek Discovery, and that he calls it Star Trek disgracery, and he's right. It's a disgrace to Gene Roddenberry's vision of a positive future. It is. It's a disgrace. Fucking hate that show. I hate that it exists as a fan that loves Star Trek. Love Star Trek so much. I hate that show. Hate that it exists. I don't hate many things. I really do. Like, hate that show. But let's pretend it doesn't exist. So let's see, Star Trek. Doctor Who, I'm not a big fan, but how are we doing on that one, guys? A respectful legacy we got going right now. Well, let's just say they're not getting the ratings and they're not moving a lot of merch. Star Wars, Marvel no longer has these Marvel Legends lines with the Build-A-Figures. Now they're doing single print figures. They're doing lots of, oh, look, it's like packaging like you liked back in the day figures. And they're doing, what else? 2-packs, things like that. The what we were getting before was really wonderful, actually, because we were getting a lot of deep cuts and stuff. And I don't know when the next time I'm going to get like a real deep cut, though I did get Titana recently because they decided to do her through Secret Wars, which was awesome. And they did Beyond Her. They have been managing to slip in some deep cuts for characters that matter to people like me. So kudos to them on that level, but it's definitely contracting what they're offering and how they've been going about doing things. And McFarlane's been doing okay with his DC figures, and they really look nice. And that's the big thing I find with toys. If you can make them look awesome, a lot of times kids are happy to grab them, and so are the adults. This looks great. But I don't know. I don't know what kind of numbers he's doing. I don't know if he's having any trouble. I don't see his stuff covered as much I don't see them showing up at Ollie's, or at least not like his mainline stuff that he's doing with DC and stuff. He seems to be doing okay right now. The license just went back to DC though, not DC, Mattel. So I don't know what that means. Were they not happy? Did Mattel offer more money? What's Mattel going to do with them? I don't know. I wasn't able to get into Mattel or Hasbro, but I got to see some NECA stuff and a lot of different things. I got there too late to do McFarlane's. We could have seen some of those things, but I saw a lot of their stuff that they showed off online, which was great. There was a lot of really cool, innovative toy makers that I liked that were on like the fringe of things, and and maybe some that I'll try to partner with in doing things because they had like some cool ideas and some of the ways they were going about stuff. There's a lot of people making 3D printed type toys. Like me and Digger got a hold of these things. You'll hear it if you're listening to the podcast, but you'll see it if you're watching me. I'm doing this on Facebook right now. I'm trying to get used to being on camera when I do my podcast because I don't like being on camera. But this thing, this is all 3D printed, and it's really interesting what they can do now with the 3D printing, and some stuff that Digger and I are both studying because we love this stuff. This is really awesome. I feel like some slightly next level version of this is just like where it's at, but it's going to require some thought and some putting some time and effort into it. And there's a lot of things that we're thinking about doing over here. So it's really cool. It was really fun for me to go to the toy fair and see the various things. Like I had no idea like what level. There's candy. There's tons of candy, different businesses that are making some sort of interesting toy candy that they're going to put on. It's like the type of stuff when you're leaving J.C. Penney's and your kids are like, can I get this? Can I get this? And some weird candy. Lots of that stuff. And then, all sorts of toys. And that was the big thing of everything's just licensed to death. But there's some awesome stuff. I mean, just like, tons of brands that it didn't bother to me to remember because it's just some nice wooden toys for little kids, for babies, and some really nice little animal dolls that were cute and sort of taught you a little bit about like going around the world, and a lot of lovely stuff. And there's a few cases from the School of Toy Making. It's not the School of Toy Making. That's not what it's called. Digger knew about it, and we actually exchanged information with the people for him because they should have him go talk. But they had some stuff that had been made by their students, and that stuff was great, very cool. It was really excellent. And at the end of the day, on the last day, because I was just there for 2 days, and we kind of weren't. We were there like midday for both days, but then meeting with a lot of people afterwards. But because it was the end of the day, on the second day, I was going down the aisle, like I was kind of dragging Digger around because there was things I wanted to see, and I was going down the aisle for board games because I love playing board games with my kids, and I wasn't like grubbing for anything, but I started getting gifted like a ton of awesome shit to play with my kids, so I'm really excited. Like there was this one game in particular that really appealed to me and looked really cool. It was basically Risk, but instead of the whole world, it was islands and pirates. So you're like taking over all these islands and fighting over all these islands. And I was just like, oh, that's really cool. That's a nice simple one. And I'm like, was asking like about the age groups, and they were just asking me about like my kids, how old my kids were. And I was like, my oldest kid's 16 and my youngest kid's 8. So you're always trying to like skew the games towards the youngest kid, but you don't want to lose the oldest kid. So you want to like find games that everybody will enjoy playing. And he just turned and looked at me at some point and said, well, do you mind carrying a couple things out of here? And I said, no. And he gave me one of the other games that he hadn't told me about, but he said that, he told me about briefly as he gave it to me. He said, this is a really good one for like that age group. And then he said, and would you want to take this one? And he pointed to the pirate one. And I went, oh my God, really? Yeah. Like, it's probably a little old for Parker, just a little, but I think it's got all these pirate ships with cannons on it and stuff. It's really, really cool looking. I think it's enough to like get her interest. She's very smart. So I'm excited about that one because the more it's a smart game, the more I can enjoy playing because I have to, skew down for the kids. So I've been waiting for them to get older because I love playing games. And, the smarter they get, the more I can like break out some things that are a little advanced. So yeah, Daddy's coming with a bunch of games, and I got some cool Funko Pops from the Funko Pop people, and that was super cool. There was a thing or two that I almost like bought, like because there were some things that were like you could buy whatever, and like in some cases, and often they were giving things away, or I guess some depending on some of the people. Like there was a company actually that showed me around and like recommended a couple games to me, which were cool games. I'm trying to remember the names. I'll remember them when I see like Four Little Ninjas or something was one of them. That were good ones for what I was talking about, because that was really what I was planning on. I was just going to go look around and see if I saw anything that like keep my eye on this, and I figured I could like ask a couple questions to some of the people, and they could recommend some games that were genuinely they thought were fun and that my family would enjoy and I could recommend, because I love a good game and I'm happy to recommend a great game if somebody recommends it to me. So if you're out there and you make games or you promote games or whatever, and you'd like me to promote a game on this show, like seriously, like legit, like send me and my family a game, reach out to me, Jesse Blaze at jesseblaze.com. Right? Jesse Blaze at jesseblaze.com. Yeah. Yeah, is that it? Yeah. Okay. Send me your games and we will play them. I have a range of ages, and like I will make that commitment for a free game. At Christmas, I do something with my kids now called Games, Junk, and Prizes after me and my wife divorced. Because sometimes Christmas is like I don't get that day. I'm not there on that day for some reason or another. And so I do Games, Junk, and Prizes just as like a, consolation prize for us. It's the special thing that we do around Christmas time together. And this year we only played 3 games, but in past years we've played like 15 games. This year I did giant games. I did full like, I just made the board out of Candyland, not out of Candyland, but you'll see. If you went on my Instagram, I think I put them on Instagram this year. If you go on my Instagram, you can find them. Anyway, so yeah, Toy Fair was neat. It was a little disappointing, like I said, on some of that front, because everything wasn't just like out in the open. It wasn't like you just walked around and here were all the toys and I just got to see everything. A lot of things were closed off, and if it wasn't, up our business alley, we didn't know anybody who was there. So even if we would like to like see that, we couldn't necessarily go in and check it out. Maybe it's some company from some country that we've never been to before. We don't happen to have any friends from. There's some companies that Digger's worked extensively overseas in various places. So that's not necessarily the case always. But I don't. Do you know anybody there? And I don't really know. I only know a few people from the toy world. And not all of them were even at the show. But I did, of course, one of Digger's friends happened to be one of my friends, which was funny. We ended up going to see a movie. We saw the new Bill Murray movie, Riff Raff. I might do my Saturday show on it. It was really excellent. It was really good. I wasn't in the mood for a movie. I was so jet lagged and tired, and I was like trying to kind of get out of it. And they dragged me, which I'm glad they did. And we had fun. And our friend Mark. And that was a great movie, Riff Raff. It's in theaters right now. It's got Bill Murray. It's got trying to access that part of my memory for the cast, because it was a great cast. Who's the other? Ed Harris is in it. There's a couple great actors in it. It was excellent, excellent. And I believe it was a first-time directorial debut for somebody, but it was really, really solid, well written. Liked it a lot. Um, so what else did I learn from the thing? Like I said, it was a little bit of a bummer. The walls up for some of the places. All the smaller companies, though, they were way more inviting and happy to talk to anybody, and and made a lot of friends and tons of different little connections and stuff. I got to kind of go through my pile of business cards and and all that stuff from after the show, but it was very cool. Digger really thinks very big. He's got a T-shirt that he likes to wear in his old business card. You say "Think Dig," and it's a very appropriate card for him. So he's just always thinking very next level and functionality. I told you about those toys that he made that I love. Oh, I didn't mention there was an Apocalypse. He made an Apocalypse if you collected toys back in the day. It's a really big one, but he's like crouched down and he's got these orange kind of wraps around his arm. Beautiful toy. He sculpted that too. Another one that was just in a great position, and it didn't matter when like the toys were getting a little bit better in quality, kind of next level for everything. I had that Apocalypse for a while. I had that Spider-Man for a while. There's other ones, and that sort of innovation of like thinking to sculpt them in those ways as to get more out of the limited articulation that was being made at the time and whatnot. I mean, really, that's how he thinks, and I'm really excited to see what maybe we might be vending next year at a place like this, or maybe do it in a different way. I don't know. But it's very cool to be working in toys. And, I'm doing all my stuff still, but I'm through working with Digger, it's allowing us to do a lot more stuff that, with my company that we might want to do, which I was already offering those things. And I've done a couple things like that here or there, like when they've come and people have asked me to help them make, some toy for them or whatever in some limited capacity. But doing it with Digger is just next level. And, essentially being asked by Digger to like put heads together with Aaron, him and I, we love toys and we know this market very well. And even though I know he and I are both jaded in one way or another, I'm sure that we will reconnect with our love of toys as we start figuring out some things that we'd like to see in the world that aren't quite there yet, that maybe bring all these little cool features together with all this great articulation and the miracles of 3D printing and so many other things. Anyway, I think that's all I've got to say really about the toy fair. I don't want to, just talk about nothing, because it was just, you go into toy fairs, like go look around and see some stuff. But it's definitely interesting. We're living in a weird time of just like the licenses are so divided up, but the meaning behind the things aren't there anymore. So the foundational things that started all these licenses and made Star Wars and, a licensing empire with statues and action figures and whatever else, and Marvel and all these things, which were, Disney bought these companies because they made so much money in their merchandise, and they have cannibalized it. And the last question I'll say is, what will be happening next year as these tariffs that have been put on the whole of industry to encourage people to make things here come up on the toy industry, which has famously almost completely left America in terms of manufacturing. Digger thinks, there's going to be a ton of toys that everybody can't afford. I kind of think a whole new market's going to show up. We'll see what happens. Anyway, I love you so much. I'm doing my show, Everything They Don't Want You to Know, every Monday now, just to fill in for my music show, which I used to do Monday. I liked recording my show on Monday. So I just moved that one there until we bring All Your Favorite Bands Suck back, which I will bring it back probably in a few months. I'm just figuring out a couple things and got to get my studio together. But I've just had a lot of traveling on the calendar, and it just hasn't made sense to do what I really want to do, which is like a lot of work on getting my studio done just right. So I'm just like traveling and enjoying the experience of seeing my people and making things happen. Cool things happen. I'm making toys now too and comics. It's so cool. The toy fair. It was fun. I really wish they'd had the walls down in the thing. It was such a bummer. Right? Bummer. It was, not like I don't know. I just was like, lame. I was like, where's this company? I don't know anybody from that company. And she was just like, granted, fortunately, Digger did know a lot of people from a lot of different companies, so we did get to see a bunch. But it was, there was that was a bummer. There was like some companies that just like are like outside of the realm of what we do, and so we didn't know anybody. And like, but I wanted to go see those like inside some of these like wood made toy things, and there's like some sort of person sitting at a desk going, "Do you have an appointment?" And maybe I should have been braver and just went up to a couple of them and been like, "No, but I like these sort of toys, and I'd like to see, please." but we got rejected from one of the toy. I forget which toy company it was, and like I always like, I don't like that. I don't like when there's like I won't go to any of those clubs in Hollywood where they're like counting the women and shit. Fucking hate that. And I've gone like to those places with women and like with pretty women, and I've been like, please can we not go to this place? Like I just like hate the superficial. Ugh, it's like all yucky. They do the video game shows. They do them a lot like that. They'll have a line outside of their video game thing. You have to wait on the line to slowly be let inside to their thing. Which at least there you can get into it. Like it's not just a line in the toy thing. But that's lame too. Yeah, I hate it. I hate the atmosphere that creates. It's not as lame. Yeah, I don't have enough any more to say. Anyway, listen to Everything They Don't Want You to Know on Mondays and wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can listen to the Saturday show. Like I said, I'll be talking about Riff Raff, I think, because that movie was really great. Bill Murray and Ed Harris, awesome shit, on Saturday for another episode of Coolest Geek Alive. So, yeah, that's that. And please join me again next Saturday for another fucking episode of the Coolest Geek Alive. Later. You've been listening to Coolest Geek Alive with me, your host, Jesse Blaze Snider. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe for more excellent geek culture content. Thanks for listening.
It's my favorite part! Isn't that heavy? I'll play that! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Coolest alive! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Stay with your tribe! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Revenge of the Geeks! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Week after weeks! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Laughing with you! It's gonna be fucking awesome! And crying sometimes too! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Spelling it out! It's gonna be fucking awesome! Making you shout! It's gonna be fucking awesome. Talking some shit. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Living your shit. My voice is fucking awesome. Food in our mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Get in the mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Tell all your friends. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Call right or text. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Raising the bar. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Straight to the stars. It's gonna be fucking awesome. It's starting soon. Straight to the top. Awesome. Passing the moon. It's gonna be fucking awesome. On with the show. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Ready, set, go. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Fucking awesome. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Just wait. You'll see. You'll all see.
The podcast playground. Hooray!